So I just want to apologize for, you know, the first video or so we're going to have. Some of it's filmed portrait, landscape. Some of it may be a 45-degree angle. Some of it may be upside down. We'll try to flip them over, but hang in there with us. You know, we kind of realized this after we started filming. Some of us is holding the phone upright, some of us holding it sideways. So just hang in there. Just wanted to kind of apologize for that. And I don't know what it is, but the camera, it does add 30 pounds, and it put it every bit like right here on me. Some of the videos I feel like I'm in a maternity shoot at 7 months pregnant. So just kind of hang with us. The first video, you know, first couple is going to be part of it up and down, part of it sideways. So just hang in there. We'll get the hang of it eventually. And today we're going to cut down a 87 R10 from a long bed to a short bed. We've done got 6 inches marked out on the outside. We're going to do this in a weekend between the driveway and a 2-car garage. Got 6 inches marked out on the outside. 6 inches marked out on the inner panel. This is going to step back to where there's nothing but spot welds right here and no seam to have to weld up. And we're going to cut the bed floor from here up about 6 inches. So this is all going to kind of be a puzzle piece when it jogs together, but hopefully it'll work out. It ain't my truck, so if it don't look very good, the son-in-law can ride around with a crooked truck. So what I'm gonna do is come on the inside from this seam. We'll come over 6 inches, cut it off. These spot welds will come out. That'll lip right back in there. So I'm gonna get it marked out, get it taped up, and hopefully we cut on the right side of the line, maybe. Put a few marks down through here, and you only want to go to the edge of that inner panel, not all the way into the corner. So that's all on the inner panel that's going to get cut. On the outside, I believe this is like 1-inch tape. Lined it up with a stake pocket. Pull it as straight as you can down through here. Doesn't have to be completely straight, as long as this cut matches that cut. It could be a zigzag down through there, as long as they match. Sharpie. Could have found a different ruler for this. probably eyeball this and get it close enough. But don't you think? I'll let a little bit of that mark show. I'll come back through with the tape and check it in a minute. The butt weld clamp will take up about 1/16 of an inch out of that. So if it's a little much, it'll. All right. It's looking good. About fine as a frog hair. All right, so we're going to cut. We're going to get the inside of the bed marked out. Kind of show you how we're going to cut the 6 inches out. Hopefully it should all just piece back together. We're going to cut the bed on the frame, use it as a jig, just slide it forward. Cut the front, slide it back, pull the bed off, cut the frame, and hopefully everything lines up. So we've got the 6 inches marked out here for the back. 6 inches on the inner panel is going to come from the edge of the inner panel to here. This will end up spot welding back into the rear stake pocket. This is all going to kind of fit like a puzzle piece. There's going to be 6 inches come out of the center of the bed here. It's going to take out the cross member, make the bed floor like a factory type bed. Same thing on this side. And we are going to get to cutting and cut the back of the bed off. All right, we're fixing a race, see who can get their side cut off first.
0, 1, 2, 3. Let's get started. Get a hold of yourself. Ain't nobody stopping me.
You need an extension cord.
0, 1. Let's get started.
All right, so we got both outer skins cut off. I've only ever cut one other of these trucks down. And it wasn't really done this way, but we're going to try it, leaving it all on the frame. And just scooting it all together, kind of using it as a jig to line everything back up and have a place for it to sit. This is the 83 K20. It was factory along bed. Being a 3/4 ton and all, of course. Got the Bluetooth drive shaft in it. Burnout tires on the rear. This has been about a 5-year project of mine. This took a lot longer than I anticipated, and when I got the truck, it didn't have a straight spot on it. It was about as straight as Richard Simmons in a hot dog factory. So we've got the back cut off. The inner panel is going to set in just a little bit to spot weld back onto the rear stake pocket. Going to take the 6 inches out of the floor. It should slide right up in like a puzzle, and should, hopefully, it'll all fit. We're fixing to take the rear bumper off, cut the 6 inches out, and take about 6 inches off the rear frame and drill some new bed holes. So we'll be back in a minute. So we've got the back bumper off, the 6 inches removed out of the bed. The floor left on this should slide right up in here, butt up, weld. Bolt even lines up. Remove the rear cross member. These cross members are made for a short bed to move right up here, but not for sure we're even going to put it back in. So we're fixing to cut 6 inches off the frame, re-drill the bed hole and the bumper holes, and test fit it. So we're coming up 6 inches. Square that off, and I'll show you how I drill my bed holes here in a minute. I take a piece of cardboard, lay over this, trace me out a template, and transfer it up here, re-drill the holes.
0, 1. Let's get started. Why they stopping me?
So here's what I do for the rear bolts. Probably not right, but it worked on my other truck. So take a piece of cardboard, line it up on the frame, the piece that I cut off. Mark my bumper holes. And the bed hole. Then I'll drill these out, put it on here, mark them, and drill it out. Maybe. I'll drill them out past the Sharpie mark, just a little. There's my cardboard down a little. That's not good enough. Line this back up on this section of frame. And it looks like that hole's going to be right in the way of the bed hole. I always drill these out big enough to give myself plenty of slack, or I did on my other truck anyway, and drill those out. So now I'm going to take the section of inner panel that's left on there, drill all these spot welds out. Once this comes off, that inner panel will go right back to the stake pocket and tack in. So there'll be no weld on the inside panel of the. Now if we can get this drilled off without breaking the spot weld cutter. Can't hardly get in there straight at it. So we got an extension on the spot weld cutter, hoping that'll give enough room to send it straight in. These things work good, but they're brittle. Use this $1 snap-on screwdriver for a chisel. Just a minute. A small piece of that inner lining still stuck right here. I can't get a grinder wheel in there, so I'm going to try with a chisel. That section's ready to set up here and test it. Hopefully it all lines up. So we set the back end back up on there, just for kind of a test fit, make sure the bed floor would go in. As you can see, we're going to have to weld a seam across the bed floor. But the inner panel, just going to spot weld it in about 3 spots right here. Weld the bottom back together. And if all turns out good with the bed floor, you're never going to know this thing was cut down. So we're going to pull it back off, break out the grinder, do some cleanup, and get the butt clamps and start welding it together. So hopefully by tonight we'll have at least this tacked on. We have to finish welding it tonight. Tomorrow's Saturday. We're going to start cutting the front of the bed tomorrow. We can get it done, get the bed set off. And Sunday we're going to cut the frame. The truck's got a 16-gallon tank on this side and a 20 on that side. So he's bought a new 20-gallon gas tank for the driver's side. And we have found a 55.5-inch drive shaft out of a short bed truck to go in it. So by Sunday evening it should be back on the road as a short bed. So we're going to pull this off, get it cleaned up, and we don't have no fancy camera so with a stand. So once we get it cleaned up, butt clamps on. We'll come back and show you how it looks before we start spot welding. We got rained out last night, so we're back at it this morning. We got all the edges ground down, cleaned up, ready to weld. We've done test fitted it. It fits pretty good. So we're gonna slide it up here, get some butt weld clamps on it, and start tacking it together. We went ahead and notched the rear cross member on the bed. It's going to be getting drop shackles soon, so figured now would be a good time to go ahead and get that out of the way. So we're going to slide it up here, put some butt clamps on it, start tack welding it together. And we back. We got the back set up on there. We use the butt clamps. If you've never used these before, they're handy if you do any sheet metal work. That'll go in between there, block in the back, and when you tighten it up, it'll pull them together and keep the right gap in there. We got it all set up on there. Butt clamps on this side, fitting pretty good. A little bit of a gap right there. I don't know who cut this side, but we can get that filled in. And this side is already tacked. We'll get both bed sides tacked up, welded, and then we'll start on the bed floor. We'll put the butt clamps in here. Put the block in the bottom, tighten them up. It'll pull it all up level. Get it lined up, welded together, ground down. Should be looking good here in a few minutes. Welded screwdriver. Yeah, right there. So we've got the back pretty well welded back on. By the way, this ain't a how to, this is probably how not to. Back's welded back on. We originally was going to come up here and notch around the stake pocket and set it back. But we have since decided we're going to come behind the stake pocket and take 14 inches out. Main reason for that's we can cut 14 inches out hopefully right across the bed floor and not have a notch like in the bed in the back, although it worked out pretty good. I've seen other people actually cut these beds off in the back and just hammer this lip back down, but that was more work than we wanted to get into, so there's a ton of spot welds to take the rear seal out through there, so we're just going to cut it, weld it. It's not going to be a show truck. It's going to get the fake patina sprayed back over it like it currently is. Kind of hate to cut the American flag out, but we're gonna get started cutting this out and finish welding the back up. So we've cut the 14 inches out. Hopefully this works out all right. Been kind of a slow go. It's hotter than a 3-ball Tomcat. So we're gonna slide it up here, get it fit, clean it up, tack weld it together, and try to get done with the bed this evening. Tomorrow will be Sunday. And pull the tanks off, pull the drive shaft, cut the frame, weld it, fish plate it, and set the bed back on it. Hopefully by tomorrow evening it'll be back together as a short bed truck. It's a big difference cutting one down. Kind of a shame to cut a good long bed up, but it'll be worth it in the long run. Finally cooled off a little bit. Stitch welding the front of the bed back on. Just remember, spot, spot, spot. Get too much heat in there, you'll warp it. Very easy right there. Even when you're grinding, grind really, really slow. Let the grinder do the work. Don't force it. Want to try to get it all stitch weld up. Tonight, that way tomorrow we can pull the bed off and get the frame cut. It's early Sunday. We stayed up late last night, got the front of the bed welded back on. We're gonna try to get the frame cut, drive shaft in, 16-gallon tanks put on it, and hopefully drive it out of here this evening. It's a short bed truck. We got all the bed welded up last night, spot welded. Still got a little bit more grinding to do, but it turned out probably better than the back bit. Still got to weld the inside of the bed floor, but we're gonna go ahead and get the bed off of it, get the bed pulled off, and get it pulled in, and we'll finish welding the bed after we get it set back on there. Everything ground down, then we'll do some touch-up paint to the fake patina paint job that was on the truck. It ought to be kind of easy to match up, but we're gonna have to boost this truck off, get it out of the garage. The Royal King battery's dead in it, so we're gonna get it moved and get this one pulled in. So we've had the bed bolts, 2 of them start spinning, so we have welded a nut on the top of them so we can hold them with a wrench, zap the nut off the bottom. More than likely the bed holes are going to be wallered out, but he can get some new bolts and replace them later if he wants.